I'm really excited to get into these next ones, Austin. We've got San Francisco on Sunday Night Football hosting the Los Angeles Rams.
Right here.
This, my friend, is a 50.5 over-under with the Rams favored by 3.5. Before we jump into this, if you are new to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. It would help us grow the channel. We continue to put out content every single day, so we'd love to have you join us here. But talking about that Rams side of the football, Austin, this is an efficient attack. It's a run-heavy attack with a lot of play action, and it looks like Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Malcom Brown are all going to play a role here.
It looks like this team's hot-handed approach, as Sean Payton mentioned at the beginning of the season, is exactly what Sean McVay, is looking to do with his backfield. And I think he, along with the rest of the team, is really happy so far with what the running backs have produced. Now, that is not good news for your fantasy lineups because it's going to be difficult week in and week out. Darrell Henderson has been the hot hand as of late. He's got the pop in his game. He has been healthy with Cam Akers out, getting more of that opportunity. But last week was Cam Akers' first game back. And while Darrell Henderson still did lead the way with a 43% snap share, as well as 15 touches on the ground compared to Malcom Brown's 9 and Cam Akers' 8, he was pushing just 2.5 yards per carry. And for a player with explosive abilities, you're really hoping to see more of that with that type of volume versus Cam Akers, who had just a more efficient game on the ground from running the ball, and he just also showed that ability to break it loose. It's not just Darrell Henderson who has the ability to pop one off. I mean, 9 attempts, 61 yards, 6.8 yards per carry last week for Cam Akers. This is his best game thus far, and this is what I think you can probably expect to see more of him moving forward, which would also encourage more volume to go his way. It's a tough one to shake out because Malcom Brown has had good weeks as well, but if we're basing it on what have you done for me lately, Cam Akers was the best performer last week, even though Darrell Henderson did get 2 touchdowns. But, touchdowns, you fall forward and there you go.
I think that's what's going to happen this week is a lot of people are going to be chasing touchdowns. But that's why you come here to us, the Fantasy Whispers, because we're telling you about what Sean McVay, as Austin said, Sean McVay wants to run this hot hand. And after the game, he said, you can expect Cam Akers' workload to continue to rise going into next week. I thought he was our most explosive runner. I thought that he looked better. And if you watched that game, he did. I mean, that was the bottom line. It just so happened Henderson scored the 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So to your point, Austin, if we're going into this game against San Francisco, who looks to be a little beat up on defense, are you comfortable starting either Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers here?
Dude, I was just thinking to myself, who would I be starting if I had all 3 of these and I could only start one? You'd be thinking of Cam Akers just because he was that running back 1 in camp before he went down and looked really good last week. But then I have to go back and think of week 1 this year when Malcom Brown went off and had a great week. But then Darrell Henderson not only went off, he got all the opportunities on it. So it doesn't seem like the week before is going to necessarily dictate what Sean McVay is unleashing for the next week. And I want to say Cam Akers and then Darrell Henderson, but it even could be Malcom Brown, which is totally unhelpful. But I would say what's helpful here is you just can't rely on this system right now. Don't pretend like anyone's certain.
I want to see all 3 backs stay healthy for the next month and then look back and say, what was their usage? Now, I know Whisper Nation, you're going to be in this situation where you can't really wait maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think in that case, maybe you lean Darrell Henderson only because he's been used in the passing game. 3 or more targets in 3 of 4 of his last games. So that is the one tiebreaker I'm going to give Darrell Henderson here, even though it looks like Cam Akers is the most explosive guy.
And the volume is nice.
Right. Now, if we talk about, last week, Austin, this San Francisco defense beat up, allowed Ryan Fitzpatrick to finish as the QB3 against them. Mm-hmm. And so although Jerod Goff is this low volume pass attack, he's had some big blow up games here. Mm-hmm. And this would seem like an offense that maybe could attack this San Francisco defense. What are you seeing out of the passing attack and who are you trusting this week?
I'm seeing weapons. I think Jerod Goff's got to be pretty happy with what's going on right now. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, they're familiar faces. Josh Reynolds, Tyler Higbee, and Everett over there as well are all very viable players, making defenses continually look and see who's on the field, have to game plan for a lot. I feel good about Cooper Kupp. I feel good about Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp is over Robert Woods by just by 6.5 points on the season for total fantasy points scored. Snap share percentage, we're both in the 80s there, 82% at Cooper Kupp, 87% for Robert Woods. So I feel pretty good about either one of those. I don't know about you, but I'm not seeing a total love affair with either one. They both look pretty involved. Robert Woods looked nice, though, with some of his big playmaking abilities over there. And I love this chance that they have to go up against San Francisco. San Francisco, now they do have the 7th overall rated pass defense, but we did, as you mentioned, see Ryan Fitzpatrick have a pretty good day over there. Jerod Goff coming off a good day here, 21 for 30, 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. All of his playmakers right now are healthy. And this also could be, while the numbers might not suggest it, going up against that tough pass defense, I think that Jerod Goff's going to have a good week this week. He'd be definitely on my streamer alert.
Yeah, I would lean towards Jerod Goff, especially we talked about the 4 teams on bye that we've got rocking this week. That means Russell Wilson. That means Drew Brees. If you need to fire up Jerod Goff, I actually think with that 50.5 over under, this is a good spot to do it. Now, I do think in the situation like you're talking about, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods are going to pull from each other's upside each and every week, but they're still main veins of the passing attack, and so you like to see that. On the other side of the ball, I did want to ask you, do you think Tyler Higbee is droppable now? We're seeing Gerald Everett fully immersed in this offense now, healthy again, and he actually led the team in targets from the tight end position last week, got 90 yards in that game. Are you concerned about Higbee? Because other than the blow-up spot against the Eagles for 3 touchdowns, he's kind of been non-existent.
Definitely am. It's a streamable, high good upside tight end, but that makes him just like any other tight end. Really, given the other playmakers they have on the field, given the pace of play, given competition at the tight end position, Tyler Higbee is a fine play, a weekable streamer, as is Gerald Everett, but this is not going to be that tight end you're going to lock into your lineup every week and feel good about it.
On the other side of the ball, Austin, we've got the San Francisco 49ers, and I think we may actually have some sort of quarterback controversy, quarterback lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Something happened against Miami last week, and they said it wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo's ankle. They pulled him for other reasons, but they said it wasn't benching him. I don't know what's going on here, Austin. We had C.J. Bethard involved. You've got Raheem Mostert back last week, and then all the other things that include a Kyle Shanahan offense. What are you seeing here, and how are you projecting this offense into this week against the Rams?
I think they got to roll with C.J. Bethard at least right now. Jimmy Garoppolo came in returning from that high ankle injury, and while he wasn't being given a ton of opportunities to impress, just given the methodical pound the ground approach the 49ers take, Jimmy Garoppolo was just not making it happen. And Bethard came in and performed a little bit better. I mean, Garoppolo's 2 turnovers last week were egregious, and 7 for 17, way below 50% completion percentage. 77 yards is not good. Now, Bethard wasn't great. He didn't have 2 turnovers. He did have their only touchdown through the air. 9 for 18, 50% passing. But if you go to the week before that, Bethard came in replacing Mullins, and he looked good. He came in, he started moving the ball really quickly. Him and Kittle linked up right away, and they were just chunking it. So I think this is honestly a combination of 2 things. I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to have to recognize that his quarterbacks are going to need to get in a rhythm, and he's going to have to call some plays to make sure that happens. Lean on George Kittle. You've got an all-world player right there, leads the team in targets, catches, yards, like all the time, presuming health, but he's going to have to get his quarterback in somewhat of a rhythm. They've got an amazing running back game. It seems like every week, just grab another guy, throw him in, and he's going to perform, get yards per carry, touchdowns, all that good stuff. But you're going to need a quarterback in rhythm who can make plays happen. Right now, they don't have that, and they don't know who it is. I think that we're going to continue to see him trying new quarterbacks out. I hope it's Bethard next week. It should probably be Garoppolo, given the C on his jersey. But we'll see. They do need to modify their play calling a little bit to get their quarterback some confidence and just fool off the defenses too.
So I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, it's a complete fade on the wide receivers for me between Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, and Kendrick Bourne. And that's because we don't know what's going on at quarterback. We have no idea who's going to be what. I think a couple of these guys, Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel, are holds. You probably shouldn't drop them. You want to see how this progresses. But outside of Kittle, man, I think, it's Raheem Mostert and it's George Kittle. And that's who you're starting here. And then I wanted to ask you about Jerrick McKinnon, because he had been becoming a flex play in this offense, obviously becoming more on the RB2 borderline when Mostert was out, but then a complete dud in a weird game last week. Do you think better games are ahead for Jerrick McKinnon? Do you think he can get more involved, or do you think it's a wait and see, kind of like those wide receivers?
Well, we do need to remember they went down, the 49ers did, early, and they stayed down. So that's not going to favor well for any of the running backs. But Mostert's first game back, 11 touches for 90 yards compared to McKinnon's 1 attempt for 0 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr. had even more work coming out for McKinnon. So I don't know what happened right there. But if it's a sign of anything, it's a sign that there's a lot of running backs on this team. And they still have Coleman out. And it just feels like another Patriots kind of situation. It feels like, well, we got a lot of guys. Maybe we have specific plays that each one of these running backs is plugged into. I'd feel good about Mostert. He's been that one since the beginning. There was a lot of chatter about maybe Jerrick McKinnon, because that 1 through 3 is so close. Jerrick McKinnon could jump up with some good performances. But this week kind of shut that theory down for me. At least McKinnon was not involved at that level. Despite the game flow and how it went, I would have expected to see him get some more work, but Mostert was back. It was all him, and I don't have a reason to believe that's going to change moving forward, given that he didn't perform bad. 11 for 90 is a really good rate of running. Yeah,
Mostert continues to average above 5 yards per carry in his career. He continues to be a really good running back. It's just kind of strange because Jerrick McKinnon is actually on record being faster than Raheem Mostert. He's got better spark scores. And this is a guy that they've paid a lot more money in the past. But I think it's a wait and see. And I don't think I'd be quick to drop McKinnon just yet. We know how the wheel changes in San Francisco. Yeah. But Mostert is the guy you're starting this week.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.